If you recall, on Common Grounds, originally it was going to be called Confetti Greens. So one of our ideas on this park was that we never wanted to have the word park name in it. We wanted the name of the park to be an idea of how it was used. So this idea of Common Grounds was that it was a place where people could meet. There's different sized lawn panels, and that way people could sit, they could play, but it was all common. And we wanted to invite them in, and it started with a social space here where you could sit and dine, and then from there on, it was just an invitation to play.
All right. And shouldn't it be common ground?
Well, yeah, because Chris thinks common ground means it's like a coffee thing.
Yeah. Common grounds.
Common grounds I thought was a coffee thing and not a. So the S was a little superfluous, but so this the idea here was, as you recall, was to get two paths of travel that you could get, kind of a main thoroughfare and kind of a backwater space that people could enjoy. So that's what this big arc walk does, and so it creates kind of smaller spaces for people to use.
Well, and then we coined the term urban huts for these. I don't know what they're called today.
Not the most elegant name, but certainly it fits. One of the ideas was that, we wanted people to be able to sit in public spaces that was detached. We floated them over these kind of rock gardens, if you will. But the structures themselves are movable so that you can have an influence over how you use a space. Usually you sit down and it's static, so these things slide. You can move the furniture around. You're kind of off the beaten path, and you kind of float out over these rock gardens. And that was a fun part of it.
What I love about it is you could have, a one person in there having coffee, or I've seen where they close off the doors, they put their kids in there with all their toys, and they're using it as a outside daycare center.
But it also has this, as I said, this invitation to play. It's kind of like a fort. You bridge out across this little rock garden, and the next thing you know, you're sitting in this fort and you can play with it. It gets you off the beaten path, but I can spill out over onto the grass zones. The other thing I like about here is this is, again, this idea of controlling your edge. We wanted a nice filter between us and the architecture, and this really gave it to us here with this large ficus hedge. It allowed us to do seating. We have some great umbrellas. So the idea of people defining how they use space rather than being dictated to was an essential part of what we thought here.
Well, and it creates a good separation from public use to a private walk to enter your residence.
Absolutely. And so this is kind of this idea. I'm going to walk across this bridge. A bridge is a symbol of wisdom, so you have these kind of things that work well for you as well. And you get in here, and look, want to close this off? So this idea that I can influence my space, I think the idea of movable structures in the landscape is something that we've emphasized as an office, and I think people want that kind of control. You get that in indoor spaces, but outdoor you don't always get that opportunity. And here's one of those chances to do it. And it's a fairly intimate thing. The seating is casual. You can see people eat here and they have coffee here, they play here. I think it works pretty well.
Absolutely. Well, it offers a good kind of rest stop, or right here we're so exposed to the elements.
Yep.
I can go inside and.
Well, this is one area. One of the cool things, if this original park that we started was 27 feet wide by 1,500 feet long, was of course the original spruce goose as it flew out over the ocean for its very first visit. This particular instance, the link bulges out to create this parallel park to it, so it gathers a little more energy because of this adjacency to the link.
So tell me about that aloe Hercules, and is there any water quality benefit to?
So there's a small water quality, which is a little bit ahead of the thing as well, but we thought that we could create these spaces that could collect water. Again, the idea that I can float over this space, but they also wanted this kind of real striking contrast, and it's been somewhat achieved. Obviously the plants have to mature, but you have this cool rock basin, and then you have this aloe Hercules, which really give you this great emphasis, great sculptural quality up against the structure, so that it was kind of an artful move that was supposed to bring your imagination with you to the park is the idea. And we think that works here.
And how many design studies did we go through for this, you think?
This went through a lot. It was a fun one. This was an early idea which was maintained, but some of the ideas of we also wanted the lawns almost look like, our original idea we were going to call this confetti greens, that you took these lawn panels and you just spilled them out onto the paper, and that they could be used by different people, so that it had functionality, but it also had this kind of sensibility that it was different set aside. So Common Grounds became the name, and it's nice to see people, they use the main thoroughfare, and of course, if you know Playa Vista, the biggest user in Playa Vista are dogs. Everyone here has dogs, whether they're big or small. Everyone has 2 or 3 dogs, but and it's great. We found spaces that the dogs could be a part of. There's a couple of dog parks in the community, and but certainly the impromptu ways dogs can use the space is really.
Well, since
really
we've been
terrific.
standing here, I've seen 3 or 4 different people with dogs meet up, or whether it was intentional, accidental, or planned. You know, it seems like the dog is the common thread for Playa Vista.
You know, dogs are
users.
very social starters. You know, they are a social starter, and kids, as you know. I mean, and you know, there's so many different ways you can integrate and meet people. It's certainly a great one.